Hello, my name's James. I'm a portrait photographer from Portsmouth in the UK. You've probably not heard of me, and I welcome you to this, the latest video on the Portrait of a Wrestler YouTube channel. When you join me as we revisit Zoe Lucas's 2020 calendar. We cover the months January to June on our previous video, and so now we're looking at months July through to December. The story of this is that we shot this on a winter's day with no cloud in the sky, nothing but hard light, hard sunlight, no additional flash, nothing else, just the sun in the sky, and just shot for a 3-hour period to produce 12 calendar worthy images. You can visit Zoe Lucas's online store if you wish to purchase your calendar. Just a few left in stock. We're going to start off here with July, and we've taken Zoe to the beach. Now in this instance we didn't want to put Zoe in the water. Really, it's really cold in Portsmouth. It's not like a summer's beach on Ocean Drive in Miami. So in this instance we had an oversized white shirt which we just put in the water and simply just got Zoe just to wear very, very quickly. The sun in this instance was just hitting the horizon. We had minutes left of that sun, and we couldn't really have her facing towards it, because otherwise we wouldn't have had the sea in the background helping tell the narrative of this shot. So we just used the sun as a little bit of a kicker light, just skimming across the side of the face there, just catching the cheek and the jawline. Tried to raise the exposure as much as possible to bounce a little bit of light back in. Luckily we had a little bit of light bouncing back in off the pedals and a tiny little bit of a white reflector on the left hand side here, but other than that pretty much all in camera. And we had lots of things on site: towels, a massive dressing gown, hats and all that sort of stuff, so that Zoe was really only in this pose for a couple of fleeting seconds really before we could wrap her up and get her warm again. But this was the July shot. Very brave one there, I think. A lovely little gust of wind as well, just taking the hair just on the left hand side there. Next shot here is taken at the bandstand just around about noon. You can tell it's noon, the sun's right behind us. We've got almost butterfly lighting with the sun right overhead, just hitting the face here and giving us that lovely strong shadow underneath the jawline. For this instance, footwork was kind of key. We needed to show off the shoes, but also posing starts from the feet up. So if the feet are in the right place, then everything else falls into place really. And just got her just to spin left and right, not big spins, not full 360 twirls, but just a little bit left, a little bit of right, just to get a little bit of movement in that dress, and using the hand just to pick it up and skim it around there. The framework of the bandstand was really, really high contrasty in this sunlight, and we could use it to frame the image. And it was important to get a symmetrical framing in there as possible. We tried to place her in the center of the frame with the pillars either side as well there, nice and symmetrical. Just a nice simple shot again there, taken from quite a way back, and just maybe 20-24 exposures of this just to get the right capture of the dress there. Moving on to September, and probably my favourite image in the whole set. This was a really, really dynamic black and white image that we took with an almost circular building with no closed doors or anything. It's just a big circular tunnel, almost semicircular tunnel really, that follows the southwesterly prevailing wind. And the wind comes in and scoots around, so that by the time you're at the other end of the tunnel, it's really, really sort of driving through like a gale force wind, with this area being close to the seafront. And what that meant was that the hair was really, really blown when we had it just peeking out from the side of this pillar here. The sunlight here is on the left hand side, skimming right into the face there, but giving us a really, really strong shadows across the whole image. But what it also does is it brings out texture of the image, so we can really make an almost tactile style shot here with the fabric of the top, the fabric of the skin, and the fabric of the brickwork and everything in there, giving us a really, really grainy old style effect there, which I love. Been really brave and just brought all of the blacks into deep black, and having that hair going the opposite way. Normally get these windswept looks where the hair's sort of coming out the back of the head and just giving this lovely flowing approach. I like the way that it's working against there, which is really, really different. Next up, we've got Zoe here. We found this little corridor where there was this lovely little wood panelling on the side of this house, and on the other side, out of camera shot here on our right hand side, were all these trees that dropped their leaves, and the sun was streaming through them, giving us this lovely dappled light across these straight lines. So you've got these lovely straight lines with these random sort of bits of dappled light there, and we just played around with it, a few different poses, and just tried to get the shape of the shadows of the dappled onto the face, just to sort of create funny shapes and just to give us different exposures throughout the print. So you can see there's sort of lines in different areas here which just caught the sort of tree light there, with the interesting sort of effect on the background, with those straight lines drawing your eye in from the left hand side, where we've really used a wide angle to draw our eye in from the paneling into the detail that's happening in the rest of the picture. Next shot here, this is really, really early in the shoot actually, so this was around about sort of mid-morning. We found an old telephone box. There's a red telephone box, very synonymous with the United Kingdom, up on the front here, and we had her in a nice flowing dress, and just got her to take her shoes off and just sort of tell that story really of her just sort of skipping past the telephone box here. And it's just a case of just getting her to walk along using a tracking focus as we went along, and just then getting her at one point just to look over her shoulder with her shoes in her hand, just looking straight into the camera. So it's a case of 1, 2, 3 steps, look over the shoulder and take it. And we did that 10 or 12 times until we got the right point on the right toe, made sure that we were always walking on the toes, having her framed with the lovely railings in the background, and have her walking towards the interesting telephone box there with these lovely little pillars in the background as well, just giving us nice straight lines. Lots of lines working throughout this picture. Sun over sort of camera right, but sort of almost overhead, you can see with the shadow on the floor there, and just a nice simple shot, nice simple narrative throughout the image. And then we end our shoot here on December, and this is a lovely monument of a knot, like a sculpture of a knot down on the seafront. We didn't really know how to use it. We had a couple of ideas. We tried a couple of different things. I wanted to sort of stood up on the monument and have someone behind the structure sort of holding her hand so that she could sort of lean out without you seeing what she was holding on to. Almost had the idea of sort of jumping up on there, but there was this lovely little nook just underneath where she could sit quite comfortably and just sort of bring herself in. And then it's just a case of using hands, arms, shoulders, knees, toes, legs, and all those sorts of things just to create a shape within that. So you've got the shape of the knot framing the image around, but then you've also got, the shape of what's going on in the shot here. The sun is sort of round the back of this shot, so there's no real sunlight coming onto this picture here. What we're using is the light that's bouncing off of all the houses and the street and the walls that are sort of behind us here. So we're just using very, very flat. It's the only shot really here that we're using flat ambient light, but we had to almost find a shadow area to sort of work within that. And it's just really, really good of Zoe just to sort of jump up on there with it. I remember we had a crowd behind us who was seeing what we were shooting and sort of giving us pointers and offering to model for us, which is quite cool. But yeah, and I just think sometimes when you use your natural surroundings, using pieces of art and things in your local area, there are always things that you can use. In the previous video, we showed how we used a lighthouse just to sort of create a little bit of symmetry within an image, and I think there's always the option to do that, and I think it's really, really done well here. We did this one a couple of times, and we did it for the cover as well, so the front cover is using this sculpture as well, but just with a completely different pose. Well, I hope that gives you an idea about how to make hard light sort of easy there, really. You can, like I say, get the calendar from Zoe's online store. If you've enjoyed this video, you can like it and leave a comment below. You can also subscribe to our channel. You can follow me at Y2JimBob on the Twitter and the Instagram. It's Portrait of a Wrestler everywhere else. And as always, all the very best.